Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And tonight we have two very special guests, Adam Schindler and Brian Netto. Guys, thank you so much for being on our show. Adam and Brian, how you guys doing?
Good, man.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent.
Thanks for having
Again,
us.
thank you so much for being on our show. And before we dive into your guys' work, you
hmm
guys have a long work history together.
hmm
I'm really curious to find out how that started and how it's continued throughout the years. Let's go with Adam first.
Sure. It started 36, 37 years ago. We
Wow.
met in fourth grade, so we've been good friends, best friends since literally fourth grade. So we met in fourth grade. We grew up in Minnesota, suburb Woodbury, outside of St. Paul, Minnesota. We met in fourth grade over a love of, comic books and genre movies and the such. And we became fast friends. And I think it was around junior high. We were bored one summer, and my parents had a VHS camera. I don't know where we got the idea to make a movie, but we decided, hey, this is a good way to burn some time. So let's just make a movie. And we made a terrible ripoff of Child's Play with a
With
Cabbage
the
Patch
with the
doll.
Cabbage Patch doll.
With a Cabbage Patch doll, literally. Um, and it's just kind of been nonstop ever since. I mean, this is in the 80s, obviously, and then, we went into high school, and when our friends were saving up money to buy, a used car or whatever, we were buying video cameras. We were just like the video geeks,
That
and yeah, that's what we did, and then we just, it just steamrolled from there. Back in the early 90s, in high school, in the mid 90s. We didn't have the access to the internet like we did now. We do
hmm
now, where you can just find all that information just at a touch of a button.
hmm
So we were doing, they had a thing called Film in the Cities, which is like film courses downtown Minneapolis, which our parents would like take us to to like learn how to do all that stuff. We were just in it. We were trying to write little stories, running around in our backyard. Just a lot of times it was just Brian and I, like, okay, you shoot. Now it's my turn. There's like each movie only had two characters in it because that's all we
If
until
you
we had.
think the filmmaking process is boring when you're an adult, and it's a lot of, sit around and waiting, try to explain to other 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, all right, you have to wait here while we do this, and we're going to go shoot this. And they're just attention span of a gnat, no interest.
yeah.
So that's why it was usually us. And so it's tough to make a film with two people. But I think more than anything, when we look back on that stuff, we realize that it was our film school, because when you go to film school, it let us understand how do you make a lot with a little. I mean, and when I say a lot, these these were not amazing films, but I think it taught us like how to get creative. We didn't, it was just a bunch of 10, 12, 11-year-old kids running around trying to tell a story with just one person on camera, one person
Right.
behind it. So
Trying to remake El Mariachi. I remember going
yeah,
to the Bell Auditorium at University of Minnesota, watching El Mariachi, and then our movies for the next year were all like,
rip
dramatic
off.
pan ups and rip offs of everything we could do,
But I
from Robert.
think that is amazing that you guys are childhood friends that had
Mm.
this shared interest, and here you are 30, almost 40 years later, and
Hmm.
that work relationship has developed into this. And I think that's just fascinating. Now, Brian,
Hmm.
did you guys both share a love for horror going way
Hmm.
back, or is that something that developed as the years went on?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think from the very beginning it was horror, but I mean, just I guess genre films in general. I don't know why we gravitated to horror. I can't explain why. I think probably because it's so visceral, and when you're young, you're always looking for thrills. You want to laugh, you want to cry, you want to jump, and so. But even I was born in New Jersey, but we lived there before. That's not when we first met. I moved to Minnesota. That's when we first met. But even before then, before we moved there, I have pictures that my mother kept of me drawing characters at cemeteries and this and that. So why I gravitated to that as a young kid, I have no idea. But it was really always about that. It was always about it was stuff like I said, we did a Child's Play ripoff. Probably hadn't even seen Child's Play at the time, but we knew the concept, and so we were just trying to mimic it. So it was always that for whatever reason. We haven't tried to dissect why that is, but it's stuck around till this day. So I guess it was just in our blood from the beginning.
Now, Adam, I gotta
Yep.
ask you this. Now, when you guys were doing as kids this Child's Play ripoff or your any other follow up, amateur horror videos, did you guys use like for blood any kind of special,
Well,
effects?
well, it started off with ketchup because we were 10 years old and knew nothing else. But there was I do remember, and I think it's actually still there in St. Paul. There's a magic store, Twin Cities Magic and Costume. I don't know how I remember that, but they had a whole section of like fake blood and prosthetics and whatever. So as we got more involved and our ideas got bigger and more elaborate, I would spend many a Saturday afternoon down there begging my mom to buy me like, this pint of fake blood and this like prosthetic bullet wound and this prosthetic cut. And so we spent a lot of time doing that. But it was, it just steamrolled from there. It's just, you learn, like Brian said earlier, it really was our film school. Brian and I, neither of us went to film school. We went to college, but not film school specifically. And just learning how to be resourceful and how to shoot a movie with two people and how to frame a shot. Like, I don't know, you just learn how to do it. And, I still have those. And no, it's not going to see the light of day. It's not going on YouTube. I'm never showing this to anybody else other than family. But looking back on that stuff, and I've seen it recently because I was digitizing some VHS stuff for my parents, and I stumbled across it. And I was like, looking at it, I was like, I mean, it's terrible, absolutely terrible. But I was like, we were framing shots back then. Like we just
It was
had an
instinctual.
instinct.
Yeah.
It was just an instinct. Yeah. Like, oh, that's.
But the
is
one
it
thing that's
instinct
also
right there?
carried, a lot of stuff is carried over, but the other stuff, like I talk about El Mariachi, we watch, read his book and later in the years. But what we did was watch how he so we bought he had a wrestling belt. So he famously put like wrestling belts or belts for when you're lifting weights. He would tie little explosives to it. You had a power. So we would try all that stuff. So I think more than anything, I think what we had is a real passion for just all facets of storytelling. We would buy the scores for all the films that were out at the time and cut those into the openings of the films, which is all done in camera because we didn't have, we would.
Yeah.
I remember once creating like a blue screen where we would shoot something, put it on our VHS, or on our television, shoot it in front of the television, and then use that. Again, we were just experimenting, but more than anything, it was just we were teaching ourselves how to be storytellers. And again, these were not great films, but more than anything, it's just
it's the learning experience. It's something that
Absolutely.
you really cannot even get at school. It's to be out there trying, seeing what works and doesn't work. And I have no idea how you guys use the green screen with VHS technology and without digital recording software to edit it.
What we did was we took filmed a camera just kind of going all over the place because we were trying to film an arrow flying through the air. Like we were inspired by Sam Raimi. And so we filmed all over the place. You take that, you put that on a VHS because it was a VHS tape at the time. You film the screen doing that, but you put an arrow in front of it. So it mimics the idea of the arrow through flight. So we would cut that in, but we had to do that all in camera. So we had to do that moment and then capture the arrow chasing after one of us. So again, all that, it was.
That is the definition of innovation right there.
We were cutting edge, folks. This is like before we were cutting edge. No, it was, but yeah, it's taking chances and being aggressively naive and excited and just going, there was no like, you can't do this. We're like, well,
why not?
Figure out a way. We'll just figure out a way. Yeah, why not? We'll just figure out a way to do it. Maybe it's terrible, maybe it's not, but
why not?
And also, there was nobody. This was before we thought this was a career. We were just having fun.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So we weren't thinking anyone was going to see these. No one was waiting on them. We weren't some prodigies that were also all of a sudden, people were expecting us to turn out great stuff. It was for us. It was seen by us and our parents. God bless them for watching them. But it was just for us. It was the definition of, like you said, a passion.
Now, you said it was fun. I'm going to ask this question before I go on to my next question. Is it still fun today?
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Adam?
Hell yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah. No other thing for all the ups and downs that the industry can provide you, there is nothing I would want to do more than this.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, what would you guys say was your quote unquote first professional project? Brian, I'll throw that to you.
Well, we paid to, well, I think we were paid to write something for an artist to illustrate. We were paid to write a treatment outline for a world that a friend of ours we had met at Comic-Con. He was a very skilled artist, still a very skilled artist. We were paid to write that for him. And that was the first time we were paid to write anything. And I think that was a sense of pride in that.
Yeah.
The lesson we took from that, and weren't paid much, but the lesson we took from that was when you are paying someone for something that they consider their craft and something that they love to do, you're going to get their best, as opposed to a lot of times you're pulling together small films and you're asking for favors, you're asking people to show up for free. The feeling we had cashing that check, it was not much, but the feeling we had cashing that check, it meant the world to us. And I think that was a lesson we took when we made our first film, Delivery. So Delivery, segueing to Delivery, that was our first, although we paid for that ourselves. That was our first professional. I would say that was probably our first professional production, because although we paid for it, we built it like a real production. We had insurance, we had caterers, we hired our crew. We didn't pay them much. If anyone in our crew is watching this, we love you guys. Thank you for breaking your backs for us for that film. But that was our first production that we built after years of kind of working on other people's projects and just learning how the industry works. We built the production. We mimicked it. We tailored it after how we saw larger productions built. We did it for ourselves on a much, much smaller scale.
Yeah.
And that was, we treat it like a real film. And to that point, like a lot of times smaller films, what they'll do is they'll have to shoot on available days. We said, no, we're going to block off 2 weeks. We're going to take time off work. We're going to get these people in so that we're getting them in a really consolidated amount of time. They're in, they're out, they're done, like a traditional film. So all of those things, all those lessons that we took from working on other productions and just learning how Hollywood worked from the time moving out, we took it and applied to that. And without a doubt, it helped us because, without a doubt, it helped us.
The biggest thing we learned, in regards to that whole thing is, even if you're paying somebody $20 to come, it means the world, because we know how we felt when we got paid to do this, to write this thing, and we were like, man, I'm gonna do the best damn job I can do on this thing, because this dude's paying us, and like this feels legit. So if you're putting together a short film or you're trying to put together your first feature or whatever, even if you're paying somebody $50 a day to come, we knew that if we were paying somebody, they were going to show up.
Yeah.
And if you're not paying somebody gets up and goes, oh, I'm having a bad day. I'm just going to not go. They're not paying me anyways.
Yeah.
But you're paying somebody $50.
They'll show up.
It means something. They'll show up.
It means something. I'm sorry to interrupt. I see someone writing on the chat and she wants to ask a question. Ariel, I don't mean to jump you, but she was saying, can I ask a question? Are they seeing us? And I'm like, we see you. So ask your question. Maybe we'll answer it.
Okay. I want to ask these guys something, but I'm scared. I don't even know if they can see the chat. Well, they can.
You can see the chat.
See the chat. Ask your
I'm new at talking on YouTube and things, and she's encouraged to say, so she hasn't asked it yet, but I'll keep an eye to see if she does
just fire
ask
away
it.
When it pops up.
Don't be afraid, Ariel. Just go ahead and ask your question. So I want to start. We're going to get to Delivery, but I want to start with 50 States of Fright. Okay. Thank you guys, by the way, for sending me that screener to that episode. It was a wild 9.5 minutes. That short. I loved it. It had a great mixture of character storytelling, blood, gore, and combined, and it was just under 10 minutes. Now, describe, let's go with Adam. Describe to us what 50 States of Fright is. According to IMDb, it's 3 shorts, 3 episodes, each of them being shorts. Whose concept was that? Is that something you guys were asked to do? Just tell us what it is.
Yeah, we'll tell you how it came together. So it's Sam Raimi. It's Sam Raimi's show. It was originally conceptualized for Quibi, if anybody knows what that is.
Yeah.
Got Quibi. Which was basically a network for your phone, is how it was sold. So it was originally done for that. Quibi has since folded, but Roku channel has picked up all the Quibi, a lot of the Quibi content. So. It should be coming out on Roku shortly. I don't know exactly, but we've been told shortly.
Yeah, to my surprise, actually, this show is on the Roku channel. My distributor didn't even tell me.
Okay. Well, all right. We're part of the same
Well,
family.
they're part of the same thing. All right. Exactly. So, exactly, it's the same type of thing. But it was originally conceptualized by a number of people, and Sam Raimi came aboard. He shot the first episode, and basically what it was meant to be and what it is short horror stories. 50 States of Fright, taking urban legends, horror stories from 50 states, and turning them into episodic television.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it was recorded for Quibi was they're in what they called quick bites. So ours was 3 chapters. Each chapter is like 8 minutes long, so you can get quick bites of information or quick stories. And the hope was that you would watch it on the go, like you're on the bus or in the bank, you watch an episode. Oh, I gotta this. Roku is going to put them together. You'll be able to watch it on your television, which is always how we that's how we shot it. Our episode is large, and there's a lot that goes on, and it's better watched on a television, to be completely honest, or a movie screen. But yeah, that was the concept. Hopefully it does well on Roku, because I've seen Roku has picked up some other of the Quibi stuff for other seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And they have, Raimi did the first episode. We have Becken Woods, who from Quiet Place. Ryan Spindell did an episode. The Mortuary Collection, which just came out, he did an episode. There's a lot of really, really talented filmmakers that have done takes on horror stories from their given state. We lucked out. We pitched a story from our home state of Minnesota, and luckily we're selected as we like that, we love that, we want to do that. So we were just high-fiving at the fact that we get to do our home state. Yoko Okamura, who is also a Minnesota filmmaker, she did the Kansas episode. Great episode. I mean, there's a lot of really, really unique, really cool stories, really well done. So check it out on Roku when it comes out within the next month and a half. I mean, it's like up there.
Yes, the quality is fantastic.
The quality is.
The episode so Brian, when if you look on IMDb, it says 50 states of Fright came out in 2020, but that's not accurate. So you guys don't have yet a date when this will be available to the public?
Well, it came out on Quibi, which was, the service lasted a couple of months. So for those who saw it, wasn't many, that's when it was
available. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching for those who did see it, though. But yeah, like a month and a half. From what we understand, it's going to be dropping right around Halloween. Roku has a much larger reach than Quibi did.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll find a larger audience, and it's just fun. I think, our episode, it's 3, it's just like a commercial break, right? So it's like 3 8-minute episodes. It comes out to about 25 minutes altogether. So it's like a half an hour of television, like a Black Mirror. So, we watch it all together, and I think all the episodes vary from 10, 15, 20 minutes. But it was like Adam said, for the fact that we got to do our home state, Great Cloud Island was something that was in the same county as us, probably 15, 20 minutes from our house was Great Cloud Island. So it was cool to tell, Minnesota, obviously people think of Fargo, which we love. They think of the Coen brothers, who obviously are we're fans of them. But I don't think yet there had been anything that had put a stamp on Minnesota in terms of a horror story. So we were just hoping that we could have kind of an entry point into that conversation. So we were happy on a couple of fronts. Happy to work with Raimi, who's an idol of ours, and somebody that we've stole liberally.
One of the coolest people you'll meet that still is the giddy filmmaker that made Evil Dead. It's just still that guy. And that warmed our heart. We were, you get concerned. Sometimes you meet your idols and this and that, and it's not what you imagine, but he's still that guy.
Speaking of Raimi, here's this, huge filmmaker. For me, it was kind of surprising that he's interested in doing shorts. Did that surprise you guys as well?
Well, I think with the industry, with the way the industry is going now, there's so many different avenues to tell your stories. So for a long time, miniseries were gone. Now they're back.
Yeah.
Features now, I think a lot of people now are focused on television series, but features are going to circle back around again. So I think for him, frankly, he had an opportunity. He probably hadn't made a feature in a while, or hadn't shot anything that I was aware of in a while. He had an opportunity to go and play in the genre that everyone loves and reveres him for. And he had an opportunity to tell a story he probably wanted to tell, but didn't know how he could tell it in a larger format. So he had this opportunity to do it in 20-something minutes. So I think most filmmakers honestly, I mean, with the way things are going now, especially with the pandemic, where so much of our stuff is digested on this television screen,
Yeah.
we just want our stuff to be seen. I'm
Yeah.
talking we as in Adam and I, but
Yeah.
most filmmakers, they just want it to be
Exactly.
seen. We don't really care anymore how it's seen, how it's digested. So, as we said, our episode started off for phone consumption. Now it's on a television screen.
Yeah.
And so it'll look so much better. The series looks great. It'll look so much better on a television. But people really, filmmakers really, we would all love to have our films open wide across the country on a big screen. Everyone will tell you that. Everyone.
But I
But
think
in lieu
those
of that,
days are,
those days are they
yeah.
were going the way of the dodo before the pandemic. It was
Hmm.
just a slow. I mean, I think it accelerated when that happened.
Yeah.
So
100%.
to answer, we weren't really surprised. I think more than anything, I can say this much, just from talking with him briefly. We had an opportunity to kind of get together with all of the filmmakers for like a mini rap party. He just loves horror. He loves young filmmakers, and so I think he was just as excited to kind of see who was going to come in. And I mean, you want everyone to succeed, but there's always a sense of like, all right, we want to make sure that we impress
Yeah.
Sam. We want to make sure that we have the best episode. There's a sense of competition, but at the same time, there was a really deep sense of camaraderie because we were all up there relative at the same time. We spent a lot of time with each other with a certain segment of filmmakers that we consider friends now. So you want to show out a little bit. You want to make sure that you have an episode that lives up to Sam's.
Yeah.
Um, and so I just think he was happy to be around some young blood. I'll be perfectly honest. And then certainly shortly after that, he just jumped into Doctor Strange again. So he's back in Featureland. So not that surprised. I think people they just want to shoot. They want to work.
Awesome. And you could tell,
Yeah.
I've never met him yet. I haven't met him yet, but you could just hearing, all the stories about Sam and just how enthusiastic he is about the craft.
Great word.
And
Great word.
he loves it.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about your guys' 50 States of Fright episode without giving away any spoilers. I
Right.
loved the whole...
Well, the trailer did that already.
I love the whole concept of the college hazing, fraternity initiation in the woods, island, creepy. You guys wrote that. It was you two that wrote that episode, right?
Yeah, we wrote and directed it. Yeah.
What? So, Adam, I'm going to ask you this: what was the inspiration for the island, the college, fraternity hazing, and so on?
Well, not giving much away, but like Brian said, Great Cloud Island was really close. We grew up in Woodbury, Minnesota. Great Cloud Island is 15 minutes from where we grew up. Although we never really went to Great Cloud Island when we were growing up, we did hear rumors. You hear rumors about all types of things happening on that island. It was literally a grab bag of possible things, from hauntings to CIA to UFOs. I mean, there was a whole bunch of rumors
Like the
about
Bermuda
what
Triangle in the Midwest.
Bermuda Triangle of the Midwest. Yeah, great way to put it, Brian. So we crafted ours. So we thought, okay, we knew this pitch was coming up. Like, what are some urban legend stuff? And we remembered this, and we did some research. What are different urban legends all over there? And we kept going back to Great Cloud Island just because it was just bizarre. Because it was kind of anything. You could create anything out of it. And that's exactly what we did. We said, what if this island was, all these rumors were a front for something else that was going on. So we were like, okay, how would you, what would you think? How would you get people to that island that feels organic, to the island to experience whatever this is? Like hazing, perfect. I mean, we had all gone through college. Brian and I neither of us were really in fraternities, but my college, Augsburg College, was like literally across the street from University of Minnesota. So I've been to those parties. I've seen all that stuff. We know how that works. We've seen plenty of movies where we know how that works. We're like, this is a perfect in. 3-4 unsuspecting, guys hazing on an island, chaos ensues.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we just wanted to make it fun, fast, fun, fast, scary, all the stuff that we love when we go in to see these type of movies, and a nod to Sam Raimi again, all that kind of stuff. Like, his stuff is fun, it's fast, it's brutal, it's gory, and you're leaving the theater feeling
exactly
full.
And coming from a lifelong horror fan as myself, not much in terms of plot twists surprised me, but that ending in your episode surprised me. Okay, I don't know why. I did not see that coming, and I loved it. I loved how you took Minnesota and the big like Scandinavian, Norwegian cultural population and integrated it into that, and to find out that, and it's hard. I mean, this is like under 10 minutes. I keep having to remind myself that in that time you managed to take a story, and by the end it's completely flipped on its head. You know, who you thought was this and who you thought was that, you were
We
all
were trying to
wrong.
make, if we figured if we made it move fast enough, people wouldn't have time to figure out what was really going on. To your point, in terms of like the second guessing. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, the stuff that the features we've done before, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, were much more. They were smaller in the sense that the scope had to be small because you didn't have a ton of money. So with this, we didn't frankly know how much money we were going to have. We just went in and pitched the biggest, baddest kind of. We just had no idea what we really were going to have at our disposal. So when we pitched it, we kind of handed it in like, here you go. And when they selected it, we're like, oh shit, okay, great. We'll make something big, and we'll make something that has a lot more locations than any of the features we've done. And I think more than anything for us, we were excited to play on a little bit bigger. Although, like I said, the runtime altogether between every segment, although it's one big episode in our minds, was only 24 minutes. This was more toys and more resources and more crew and anything than we'd ever had before. So we took full advantage of that, really going into it, not knowing that we would have that. We always figured we'd have to scale back some stuff, but we were able to deliver. And we shot in Vancouver, and the crew was very experienced. They knew how to move fast because they mostly work in television, and they were able to deliver what you saw. And frankly, I think a lot of people in the lead up to production, they kept kind of slyly telling us, hey, you might want to cut a couple of pages out of this because you have a lot going on. And we were like, oh, we're good, which is part confidence, part naivete, mostly confidence, because I think, we cut our first two features, so we really know what we need and what we don't need. So when we're like, we know that we have to get to this scene because this scene leads to that scene, and that scene leads to this scene. And a lot of the filmmakers that were filming before us, came up to us with like these bug eyes, like looking at us with like PTSD, like, guys, this is crazy fast. You have to prepare yourself. And we were like, okay, we'll figure it out. And we just rolled with the punches, and we're very fortunate that we had everybody on the same page and was able to capture what we needed, because all the other episodes are fantastic. They're a bit more contained than what we did. Ours is like it's so many different locations, so many different characters.
Yeah, we don't repeat one. We literally don't repeat one location. It's like we're on to the next. It's like running through the forest to this.
To your point, keeping ahead of the audience because we didn't want them to guess
exactly
where we were
That's
going.
the twists and turns.
Now, Adam, when 50 States of Fright does come out, do you know how it's going to be presented to us? Is it going to be 30 minutes, 3 separate segments? Is it going to be an
It's going to be. I can't really answer that. I really don't know. I would imagine, I don't think it's going to be, from what I've seen of what they've done with the other Quibi shows, is I don't think they're rolling them out like Quibi originally did, which was drop our first episode, which was 9 minutes, and then our second episode the next day, which is another 8 minutes, and then the third one. I think you're going to be able to watch it kind of like all the way through, like still as the episodes, but in one sitting you'll be able to sit and watch it. That's how I imagine it.
Yeah, so I've been watching. I have Roku, so I've been watching it. It's not that different than Netflix. Yeah. Frankly, the only difference is there's commercial breaks. Like if you'll watch one episode that's 10 minutes, but there'll be commercials, and then you'll jump to the next one. So it's kind of like
it's what's called AVOD, advertising video on demand.
Exactly.
Yep,
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of. I mean, the stuff that's coming over. There's a lot of, not to be a big Quibi show, but there's a lot of stuff on there that got lost because Quibi came and went so fast. There's a lot of really cool stuff on Quibi. That's now on Roku, so check it out.
Yeah. Now, did Sam and company give you guys autonomy when it came to your segment with casting and just complete
100%.
control?
100%.
Yeah. I mean, we handed in the script. We got notes from the team, and then we did a read through. We did a table read with Sam and a few other people. And Sam.
One of the highlights of our career thus far was having Sam Raimi read a character named Ash from our
from
episode.
The Evil Dead.
His name's Ashley, but people in our episode call him Ash. So he played that character as we did the read through, and Brian and I were just like nudging each other, like Sam Raimi's playing
Evil
Ash.
Dead.
Yeah, like he had unsurprisingly, he had some amazing notes, but they were all like practical notes, like on the day when you're on set, that blah blah blah. This guy that's been making movies since 1980. When did Evil Dead come out? 80,
70s,
81.
70s, maybe.
I
So
think it was
he's
the
been
end
doing
of
it.
the 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he's been doing this for a minute, and so the notes were just so great. They were filmmaker notes. They weren't. No disrespect to any execs listening to this. They weren't exec notes. They were filmmaker notes. Like he
Yeah.
understood what would happen when you tried to translate this onto the screen, and so he
Yeah.
would be able to pick out the pitfalls, the potential pitfalls. So he had amazing notes, and but yeah, beyond that, like the casting of it, I think people didn't understand what Quibi was going to be yet, so there was a bit of excitement and a bit of a buzz. Although people were like, "What is this thing?" So,
Yeah.
you know, we the casting director that we had that was assigned, I believe, to all the episodes. You know, she was like, "Look," she got it to Asa Butterfield's agent, and he really dug it, and so we had just a meeting with him via Zoom. He was in the UK, and I think he didn't have any notes. His only question, I think, Asa's only thing was like tone, because you know tonally, there's humor in it, but there's also a lot of blood in
Yeah.
the sense that, and so we said like we kept telling all the because we kept telling all the people that were in the film like, look, we want to have humor because these are young men in a fraternity going off into the woods and
Razzing each other.
we want to have that playfulness to it, but at the same time, we don't want the playfulness to undercut the horror.
Yeah.
So I think for everybody, their real question was like, what is this like? What are the comps like? And frankly, I don't mean to sound like we created something completely original. We were trying to come up with comps, and we had a hard time because it's not – Scream is too kind of meta and tongue-in-cheek, and this was not that. Like there was humor, but there was some serious horror in it too.
It was,
and so
I think it was I think it was balanced very nicely.
Yeah, thank you. And so that was Ace's only note, and all the cast. I mean, the producers were excited to get him, and I think, frankly, for us, like when we met with him, we should probably watch a little bit of Sex Education, which is on Netflix, and we were like, oh, okay, this guy's a pretty big deal, and he also, we've worked with a lot of really great performers, and he was maybe the most technical we'd ever worked with in the sense that like you give him a note and he would execute it like to perfection, almost like an athlete. Yeah. But athlete knows his body and can do whatever he needs to do. Like he knew, be like, can you do it with this, this, and this? He goes, okay, goes and does it, comes right back, and you're just like, wow, that was incredible.
Can you pause for 2 seconds, give him a chance to do this thing before do it? No problem. Like no problem.
Awesome.
And the important thing was also because he was our main character, you know, his willingness to just kind of just go into it and just jump in, it trickled down to the rest of the cast because the other boys the other young men rather that were the fraternity brothers, they got along so well. Like those two were like those four were like a gaggle across like they would, whenever we, you know, move on to the next shot, those four would like just kind of run off to the craft services or run off to a tanner. They were always together, and that camaraderie, I think, I mean, I suppose we could have. I suppose we could have.
Yeah, exactly, Adam. It came through on the screen. It really did.
Yeah, they
met each other. Yeah. They met each other on the trailer before, you know, a few hours before we started rolling. So It's like we were fortunate that the chemistry was great between the four of them.
The character that plays the Ash character, Ashley Alex Fitzallen, we had seen his Netflix show, and we were talking about the character, and we were trying to figure out how we cast this guy or whatever. We're like, well, it's just like the Harry character in the show on Netflix or whatever. And we're like, why don't we just go get that guy? Because he's awesome. And we were able to do it. That was like, it's like the first time in our careers we were ever, you know, you have the star power of Sam Raimi and, you know, and the Quibi, and everybody was really excited about it and didn't know what it was going to be. So there was a lot of like mystery behind it, and people were excited to just kind of be part of it because everybody was being part of it and let's join it. And that was great because we were like, oh, we can go get the people we want because, you know, if you're making a movie and you're working in Hollywood, that can be a tricky path. That's that's the hard part of getting a movie made. It's like how you put the movie together, like who, you know, the worth of actors and all this kind of stuff, which is stuff that
it's insane.
You know,
it's insane.
Yeah, it's insane inside of the creative stuff. So we were just like creative. This guy is perfect. This is who we kind of wrote the character for. Let's go get that guy. We can get that guy. Let's, you know, I mean, like you've never been in that position. We can go get that guy. And then we went and got him, and he knocked it out of the park too. I mean, they all did. Everybody did.
They worked their butts off.
So let's go now to your guys' first feature film, Delivery: The Beast Within. It was a found footage type film. I'm assuming it being your first feature film, as a lot of independent films, you had a very tight, small budget. How did that story come together? well, and a question is found footage, making a found footage film more, is it cheaper to make as opposed to other type of films? So, or was just the idea for delivery was a found footage type film from the very beginning?
Yes.
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
From the beginning. And just a bit of history, when we conceived that idea, this is before, when we conceived it, the original Paranormal hadn't even come out yet. So the only things that were really kind of in the ether, Cloverfield had come out the year before, but nobody was thinking that a $30 million movie can be replicated as a whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a film called Lake Mungo out of Australia, which is fantastic. Okay.
Fantastic.
And so,
one of the best films.
And so the only thing that felt like a real comp was Lake Mungo. It was much closer to what we were pitching our manager was much closer to Lake Mungo than it was to Cloverfield. So, it was built into the conceit. It was built into the idea. Like everything that you saw was when it was what we conceived initially. You know, first act is a reality show. The second act is the behind the scenes of the show. The third act, it kind of devolves into what you would off that time call more of a found footage film. So it helped us in the fact that we financed the film ourselves. We made it for $48,000. We wrote checks between ourselves and our wives. We wrote those checks and we owned the film outright, which was great. But at the time, there wasn't a lot to compare it to. I mean, subsequently after Paranormal came out, we had just finished our first draft. And so people were much more open to taking a meeting about kind of an unconventional horror film. Mm-hmm. But we weren't riding any wave. There was no wave when we started the concept for it. It just so happened that the wave broke as we were ready to go out and start taking meetings. And once we started taking meetings, people were very enthusiastic and they loved the idea, but they were less than enthused with the way that we wanted to approach it, which was
they got a little scared.
You could tell the Oren Peli story, but I was going to say the way we wanted to approach it scared people off, and that's why we ended up doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
Now go on, Adam.
Yeah. So our manager, Mark Manis, World Builder Entertainment, a little plug for him. We pitched in this idea. We were like, there's this movie that called Paranormal Activity. It's a found footage movie. Can you get us a copy so we can see what he did? Because it hadn't come out yet. And he was like, let me check. Got back to us quickly thereafter. Was like, I absolutely cannot get you a copy of that movie because it's on lock and key. Nobody knows. But I can get you a meeting with Oren Peli, the director. Mm-hmm. We're like, cool. At this point, Oren Peli was a no-name filmmaker who had a movie that hadn't come out yet. So we met with Oren, and we were like, hey, the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Like, literally, the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And we were like, oh, this is what we're thinking about doing. We just wanted to pick his brain. How did you do it? And he was like, literally brought pieces of paper. He's like, this is how I did it. Like, this is what I did. Like, I did this, and I did this, and then this. And we were like, can we keep that? Because we just wanted to we were like, this is perfect. We wanted to keep the format of all this. So, and then, of course, Paranormal Activity comes out. Boom. It's huge. Like, and he's
this was like we met him 2 months before it dropped. So
before it dropped.
At the end of the meeting, we were just like, so what's happening with your movie? He's like, well, and he kind of had like a little look. And then 2 months later, we went to sit on a midnight screening, packed house, and it blew up. I mean, it changed independent filmmaking. It changed micro-budget filmmaking forever.
I got to put in my opinion on I love Paranormal Activity.
Same here.
I mean,
I do too.
I love it. Okay. Now, Oren made this movie for he says what's stated in the media for $10,000.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
$10,000. Yeah. The movie just made just under $190 million worldwide. I mean,
which is why he's retired. That's why he's retired.
Talk about return on investment right there. But in regards 100%. To Paranormal Activity, besides it being a great movie, the way they marketed it. Do you guys remember the marketing of the people sitting in the movie theater?
Click on the thing. You want it to be in the movie, and then showing the audience in the trailer reacting to it.
Yeah,
that got us, man. Like, we were there. There was a line. It was packed, and nobody knew anything other than the trailer. Like, I miss that kind of camaraderie you get with that kind of stuff. Like, there's a number of those experiences Brian and I have had over the years. I feel like that's kind of going away. I mean, the pandemic is a huge part. Hopefully, once we get over this hump and what have you, that we can get back to that kind of thing, because I really do miss. I may not watch every movie that way, but I do miss, like, going to see the original,
Yeah.
going to see like the Matrix sequel, because the Matrix, nobody knew what that was, but like those, like, yeah, right behind Brian. There you go. I just saw the trailer for the new one today, so it's on my mind. But
I'm not gonna watch it. I'm just gonna wait
I
to
know
see the
they
film.
doesn't watch.
But the marketing they did for Paranormal Activity, it was
Brilliant.
unique. It worked, and of course, you
Work.
have to deliver, and they did with the movie. It
Absolutely
absolutely
delivered.
delivered. It was just
Absolutely.
brilliantly done. So when you guys were doing delivery and you financed it yourself,
Mhm.
um, did you have it all planned out up to post production, and then you were hoping to get it into the film festivals for distribution? How did it play out after filming ended?
Well,
Yeah,
after
well,
filming ended, oh, go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say after filming ended, our cinematographer was also going to be editing the film, and the mountain of footage that we handed over, which he knew because he shot it, was just a lot of film. It was just a lot of footage
Daunting.
because we shot it like a reality show, right?
Yeah.
So the cameras were constantly rolling. I like a lot of takes, and so
Hours and hours and
it was
hours.
just a lot of footage, and ultimately he couldn't get to it in the speed in which we needed him to. And so ultimately, we ended up cutting it ourselves, which I think, for without a doubt, was the best thing we could have done. But a year had passed between going from him to another editor. Finally, we cut it ourselves. So to answer your question, plan, no. Like, our plan was to get it in the can. Our plan was to get it done. And then after that, it was
Figure it
like,
out.
all right, figure it out. And so we cut ourselves. Like, we would cut sequences independently. We would just do it on our laptops at our kitchen table, and then ultimately put it together. And I remember, after that, we tried it. It was kind of like your kid trying on the adult clothes. It was like we tried to build this like a real studio film, but for a micro budget scale. So we had a test screening. So and we had a friend that hosted it. We rented a theater. We had a bunch of people come. Some people we knew, but we invited and encouraged people to bring people we did not know.
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately, we weren't there at the screening to greet anybody, but at the end we came out. But we listened in from the back as they had questions and notes, and a big discussion kind of started to brew in the crowd for what we could hear. And once we heard that, we were like, okay, I think that's good, because people aren't like, a lot of times you'll see a movie, you just kind of go, okay, that was good, and just walk out, like it just leaves your brain. But I think this film didn't do that, and I think that helped because aside from the ending of it, which had a strong ending, it also created a little bit of debate, which we were hoping might happen, but we didn't. You just never can know. And after that, it was just like, look, this is incredibly tiny. We're just going to hope we get into a film festival. But more than anything, I think our goals from the beginning were very, very modest. Like, our goal was like, at the time, IFC Midnight was like the go-to place if you had a low independent horror film that you wanted to get, that was the stamp of approval. It made IFC Midnight or went to Magnet, and then it was on VOD, and it's like, congratulations, you've arrived.
Mm-hmm.
Our goals were incredibly modest. And so after we got into LA Film Festival and we sold out of that, that was our premiere. That's when we world premiered. We played it, Sitges, which was like for us like a massive deal, which is like the grandfather of all genre festivals in Spain. And we played at festivals like New Orleans Film Festival and films at festival like Screen Fest in LA, places that were horror film festivals and genre film festivals, but also stuff that wasn't. And so that was kind of where we kind of had this really interesting audience, because it was for people that necessarily said that they didn't like horror films, but they found this one interesting.
Uh-huh.
But then also horror films, I think horror fans also appreciated because it took an interesting way into a traditional horror film idea. So we had no plan. We just hoped that
it would
end up on DVD. Hope it would end up on DVD. And I think because of that, it wildly exceeded. But also, I'll say this. I said to a friend of mine after we filmed it, he was like, how did it go? And I was like, I don't know if people are going to like this, but I know that I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, we're proud of it. We're proud of it.
We're proud of it. And I think that more than anything, it was the movie we set out to make.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just hope that people are want to go along for the ride that you created, because it's not everyone's cup of tea. But for the people that love it, like, they really love it. And for other people, they'll say it's too slow. And that's fine. We knew that going in.
Well, you're never going to make everybody happy.
Absolutely. If you can make yourself happy, that was the thing. If you can make yourself happy, you'll be 1 for 2.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So Adam, after the film hit all these festivals, how soon before you guys got a legitimate distribution offer?
Right out of our first festival.
Wow.
So this is how it worked. We finished. passed the deadline for Sundance, Slam Dance, like all the big festivals. We're like, okay, what's the next biggest festival coming up that we could probably hit? It's LA Film Festival in June. So the submission time was like February, or I want to say February, maybe late January or February of that year. So we're like, okay, so we submit and we get it. Brian gets a call. Is this a world premiere? You know, people are concerned about world premieres and how they program films and everything. And there's all these politics that go involved. Like, I don't know much about it, but we know enough now. And it's like, is it a world premiere? Yes, it is. We shot it all around LA. Cool. And then like literally, I think later that next day, like we got an email like there's internal momentum. People like it. And then they asked us to be part of the festival. And there was no better place to really, I mean, I miss LA Film Festival. It no longer exists, but we've had 2 films premiere at LA Film Festival, had 2 films premiere at LA Film Festival. No better place for our first movie, an LA story. Everything takes place in LA. We shot it all over LA. Got some permits, didn't get other permits. You know, we did the whole kind of going back to our days running around in the backyard with a VHS camera.
Yeah.
We did a little bit, you know, we did a little bit of that too with this. Like you just have to. You gotta sometimes be like, oh, we gotta go get that shot of the thing on the pier in Santa Monica, and we don't have the $1,200 to like pay for the permit. All right, we'll just roll by in a car with, you know what I mean? We did the whole thing. You know, like sometimes you just got to do that, and that's what we did. So we were super excited, and the LA Film Festival threw an amazing festival, and yeah, we sold out of there. And once you sell, or once you're in a larger festival, our experience has been festivals start calling you and they start emailing.
Yeah, we weren't very aggressive.
Never submitted to anybody else. Like that was the only festival we've ever submitted to.
And we're not very aggressive afterwards. I wish we would have. We just didn't know. And so after everything we got into after that was people reaching out to us, but we didn't submit to some of the other festivals that we're fans of just because we thought, oh, well, it's already sold. So what's the next step? So, we traveled as much as we could, you know, to different places, to the UK and just across the country. And you know, that was incredible. You'll never be able to. We went from New Orleans Film Festival to the Telluride Horror Show in like a 3-day span. I think we had the Screamfest festival a couple of days before that. So we were in like 3 different cities in a week. And you have to take advantage of that because that doesn't – first off, if you're fortunate enough, your films start going straight to theater or to larger flats, so you don't have that experience. So we took full advantage of it and saw as much as we could and got out and met a lot of really incredible filmmakers and programmers and have a lot of respect.
So when Delivery, you know, completed its, you know, journey and it got distribution, did you guys feel like, you know what, we did it, we've made it, we've arrived, you know, our first feature film, we took a risk, we put our own money into it, and everything really worked out? What was your feelings?
I don't know. I mean, we're always working on so many things, so that it was like by the time the Delivery had done its festival run and stuff, we're 2 years out from when we like finished it and all that kind of stuff, and it's just doing its thing. And now we just get to like meet other filmmakers and travel around and like talk to people like yourself about the filmmaking process, which is we love doing. So that was awesome. But we were already on to the next thing. I mean, that's how we got in our next movie, Intruders, was basically some producers saw the movie, really liked it, wanted to find something with us, and we ended up doing a movie with them. So that's kind of what works. But we were just we're always on to the next thing. Like right now we got a bunch of other projects that we're just trying to, because it's so hard it's even gotten harder now, but to get movies made, it's just, you know, we're kind of at the point now where we're like, okay, we've done the pay for your own independent movie, and now it's like continuing to be productive and continuing to churn out movies and make more movies is the work before you get to make the movie. So it's like now we're studying for the test, and you just study and study and study and study until you get to take the test, which is making the movie. And it's like, you know, that's where we're at now, and that's where we were after Delivery. We just working on the next thing, write another script. We always have ideas. We would just generate ideas all the time. Brian's texting me in the middle of the night. I'm emailing him. I got this idea, you know, like you just got to continue to work, and that's what we love about it, is just continue to tell stories. So it's
exactly. We're almost out of time, but let's talk a little bit about Intruders. Okay, was the intention for that movie and the twist always to be wrong house, wrong victim type of scenario, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, David White, T.J. Sinfeld, who wrote Intruders, we had read that a couple years prior because they're represented by the same manager. So that's the one thing that really stuck out to us. If you've seen the film, for those who've seen the film or have seen the trailer, they unfortunately spoil some of it. That was the moment that we were like, "Oh, we got to do this movie." Like when you see that moment, that's the moment it really pulls the rug out from under the audience, and it was really clever and it was well written. They're very good writers. I think they should be writing if they're watching this. They should be starting today because we just started on a new project with them, which we're excited about. I think today we just got the go ahead. So, yeah, I mean that's well, thanks. Yeah, so that's what we were excited about. It was that twist, right? Like that was the point of doing the film. So when we got that, it was a matter of like, we had producers that said, we have money, let's make a film. And ultimately we had to find that script. Unfortunately, it was under someone else's option. It came out from under option. And in terms, you were talking about, when you felt after delivery, did you feel like you had made it? Well, no, because you're constantly moving on. So, delivery premiered in May of whatever year that was. We were shooting Intruders in August.
Wow.
And so like that never happens. Like it never happens that fast when you have stuff back to back to back. So we were just happy that a script of that quality was available and it can be made for the money we had. So that's and I think honestly that's the credit. It's a credit to those guys, the people that they were able to get for that film. Beth Reescraft, Martin Starr,
Rory Culkin,
Jack Kessie, Rory Culkin,
and our guy Josh Michael,
who's in 50 states.
It was 50. We wrote a part for him in 50 states.
All those guys have gone on to do really good work, and I think it was because it was a really strong script, and it had something for everybody that they thought they could bring. Yeah.
Now, Intruders was originally titled Shut In. I'm assuming that was distributors are the ones that usually like to change titles. Is that what happened here?
Yeah, I still have a shut-in poster on my wall behind me.
I think Brian are the only ones. I think they made 2 shut-in posters.
Well, the boys have it. David.
So there's 4. They made 4 shut-in posters, and me and Brian and the writers TJ and David are the only people that have the shut-in poster, and that's what I have up.
The reasoning I remember because E1 Momentum Pictures distributed it, and so I remember speaking with one of the marketers, and he kind of let slip like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to change the title." I'm like, "Wait, what?" And he kind of like stopped for a second. He was like, "Yeah, well, there's another film coming out with Naomi Watts called Shut In, and we don't want to get confused." And I'm thinking, but our film is in the can. That they just started production, so it's unfortunate because Shut In. It's what the movie's about, right?
Yeah.
It's about
her. It's about her, not the Intruders.
So to call it Intruders, which is a very generic title, but so look, we're 2 for 2 on features being, Delivery, The Beast Within was originally Delivery, as in, that's what it was. So, excuse me, like I said, we're 2 for 2 on title changes for our features. So we're just, we'll see.
At this point, we don't get attached to titles because we know that is not out in our hands.
Yeah,
like no matter. We owned all of Delivery. We owned all of Delivery. And they still change the title. So it's like you go to the distributor and then they make the changes how they want to market it. And you just kind of go until you're like Peter Jackson or Steven Spielberg where you can actually like say what you want for the marketing. You have an idea.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's really just a title. It's the work that counts. Now, you guys said you're constantly coming up with ideas and scripts and so on. What, because we really are almost out of time, what should we look forward to coming out from both you guys in the near future?
Okay, so
Brian is staying out of this one.
I'll re-hit on the one that we just got the go-ahead today. It's a Hitchcockian thriller, has Rear Window vibes to it. That TJ and David, who wrote Intruders, are going to write after this, guys. If you're watching, get to writing. And then hopefully that script will be ready sometime spring of next year. We get that baby going, and then Brian, you can tell them about.
Yeah, we have another project that's called Turnkey, which is the pitch for that is like imagine if Chris Nolan did a haunted house story. So it's obviously got more on its mind than just a traditional haunting. So that's something that we have some producers on board that we're excited about, and try to get off the ground, see if we can get some actors attached to that. But that's something that's one of our passions, one of our passion projects. We have a few others as well, but those are the 2 that we're hoping to get off the ground soonest.
Well, so, I got to tell you guys, listening to you two for the last hour, it's been inspirational.
Appreciate
childhood
that.
friends who shared a passion, and you guys are doing it for work, and you're having fun, and you love what you do, and you're
Hmm.
producing quality stuff. I mean, that's inspiration, and congratulations. I mean,
Ah,
there's no other
thanks.
word that can, describe it. Congratulations. That's awesome. I love hearing stories like these, and I know there's a boatload of success left down the road for you guys, and things are only going to get bigger and better as things move on. And
So
before we go, is there any final thoughts you guys want to share?
let's come back and do this again when we get
Absolutely.
when the next thing goes. But yeah, nothing really. Just if anybody's out there wanting to make movies,
Don't give
specifically
up.
horror movies,
Don't
yeah,
let anybody
just
tell you
do
you
it.
can't.
Don't tell anybody you can't because
Yeah,
we have HD quality stuff in a phone now. You can do anything. I mean,
exactly.
before that, just do
Exactly.
anything you want.
And I
Don't be scared
remember
of
the
be
days I
yourself.
had a VHS camcorder.
Yeah.
I remember those days. Those things were like huge and clunky. And the tapes, oh my God. You guys have
Yeah.
been great. Thank you so much for
Thanks for
coming
having
on
me.
our show and sharing your story. Can't wait to see the rest of 50 States of Fright when it comes out.
Yeah,
I'm
check it
looking
out.
forward to seeing all the other shorts in that sequence. I want to thank our audience for tuning in. Again, guys, 50 States of Fright, Delivery, Intruders. If you haven't seen these movies, please go ahead and check them out. You won't be disappointed. It's great work. So, on behalf of Adam, Brian, and myself, stay safe. Again, thank you for tuning in. Till next time, stay walking. Good night.